That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Do Revenge, the sophomore film directed by Jennifer Kaytin Robinson, which premieres on Netflix September 16th, 2022.
Do you know Jennifer's first film?
No, also a Netflix film called Someone Great. More notably, she's credited as a writer on Thor Love and Thunder, which I'm sure was a great paycheck, but is not a testament to master storytelling. This film was also co-written by Celeste Ballard, who wrote Space Jam: A New Legacy.
I'm the one who wanted to watch this because I saw the trailer and thought it looked dark and witty. But it is neither of those things.
No, this is in the wake. It's like Diablo Cody light with teenagers.
I was disappointed in this film.
I was extremely disappointed in this film.
And it's long.
Yeah, and it has the gall to be 2 hours of boring, moderately intelligent teenagers.
Okay, the basic story is there is a high school student named Drea, played by a 28-year-old.
Camila Mendes.
Who is gorgeous.
The film Palm Springs and Riverdale. Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's stunning. But she is like the Andrea Zuckerman of her school. Like, she goes to this very fancy, preppy high school in Miami with all these super rich kids, but she is not rich. It looks like she lives in like kind of a shitty manufactured home. Her mom is never around because she has to work graveyard. Drea drives like a shitty Mitsubishi Eclipse. But somehow she has worked her way to the top of the food chain at this school. So she's like the most popular girl. She's dating the most popular guy, a guy named Max.
Mm-hmm. And she's gotten an expose in Teen Vogue.
And the film opens with her explaining her life there and her having a party and at like a friend's house who lives in like a mansion. But everything crumbles very quickly because she sends her boyfriend Max like a sexy video of her. We don't see it, but it looks like, or it seems like maybe it's her like doing a striptease. And Max leaks that video to everyone. Mm-hmm. We find out. And it destroys her.
He says he was hacked.
Not quite, yeah. He says he was hacked, but we find out he actually did do it. But not quite clear why this ruined her life, except like she's embarrassed, obviously. But we see her go to school. Her, summer passes. She goes back to school her senior year, and she's kind of shunned by everyone.
She has a social disease.
Again, we can get into why. I don't understand why that happened to her, but she meets a new girl in school named Eleanor, played by
Maia Hawke,
and
daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke.
And she looks like her mom, which is fun to see. But
she sounds like her too.
Eleanor takes a liking to Drea, and then the movie becomes Strangers on a Train,
which Eleanor is reading, the Patricia Highsmith novel, which of course was made into the Hitchcock film.
Which is about two strangers who meet and decide that they're going to help each other kill their like enemy. And in this movie, these two decide like, we're going to help each other take down each other's enemy. So Eleanor agrees to help Drea take down Max, her ex-boyfriend who leaked her little video. And Drea agrees to help Eleanor take down Carissa, who's this like, Eleanor's a lesbian. So Carissa's this other lesbian at school who Eleanor says outed her, which ruined her life. So they both do what they say they're going to do. It doesn't really go as planned because Max is sort of like impenetrable. Like, he's so popular that even the scandal that they unleash on him doesn't work, which I guess we can get into. But there's a final gag, which is what makes the film feel really long, is that Eleanor is not as innocent as she seems, and Carissa is not the one who ruined Eleanor's life. It was Drea. But Drea's so self-consumed, she doesn't even remember Eleanor, which is weird because the way they're talking, you would think this is like a decades-long sort of thing that Eleanor's been dealing with. But it's like 3 years or 4 years ago when she was like 13, because they're 17 now, that in like day camp, Drea was calling Eleanor Nosy Nora because she had a big nose.
She's beaked.
And she also outed her as a lesbian. And apparently that destroyed Eleanor.
To the point where she went and
got a nose job.
Yeah.
And then, so now she's back at this school with the master plan to destroy Drea. And she tells her that. But in the final hour, Drea convinces her, like, you're the only friend I ever really had. The only times I was happy was when I was with you. And Eleanor feels the same. So they decide to be friends and take down Max. by showing a video of him saying what he did.
Which makes no sense because the video
Right.
hasn't even finished playing at this
party.
this teen bacchanalian, and then they all immediately
All the kids are
Yeah.
like, we are against Max. It's so stupid. So the final scene is, as a result of all the hijinks, Drea doesn't get into her dream school, which is Yale. But then because Max is expelled for his being exposed, his admission to Yale gets denied. And the school principal, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, says, oh, there's an empty seat at Yale. I'll see if you can take it. Which I'm sure that's not how that works. Drea says no. And then she rides off into the sunset with Eleanor.
Listening to Meredith Brooks.
I don't understand why. The end. Man, this shit just... It's not giving what I think it's giving. Like, I feel like it's trying to do, like... What I thought this was going to be by the trailer was like mixing Cruel Intentions, which I guess is based on Dangerous Liaisons, which one of the kids is reading in the movie.
Talia Ryder's Gabbi is reading Dangerous Liaisons. And of course, Sarah Michelle
was in Cruel Intentions. So take that and mix it with Tennessee Williams. That's what I thought I was going to get. But this feels like something you'd see on like the Disney or like ABC Family, except they use adult language. But they're saying really raunchy things, but we don't see them do them. So that was very unsatisfying.
Not that raunchy, but a lot of drug use, and you know, it's clear.
They do talk about sex. They talk about eating ass, about having orgies, but we don't ever see any of that.
Right. I know I liked Bodies, Bodies, Bodies a lot more than you did, but this makes that film look like a classic.
Agreed.
A Gen Z classic. Also, what's really... the poster art for Do Revenge looks just like the poster art for Vengeance, the BJ Novak film, which was that last month or 2 months ago that opened.
Okay, so the backlash against Drea. So she sends her boyfriend Max a little sexy video. It gets leaked on the internet. Everyone sees it. And I guess, of course, Drea's embarrassed. But then for some reason, like, her social life has ended. Even though all these kids are acting like they're all slutty, we find out that Max was sleeping with every girl in school. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why they would judge Drea so harshly. But
when they hack his phone, Eleanor's like, this goes back years.
This boy is like a teenager. What are we talking? Like, but I guess it's in line with how dramatic teenagers are. Like they haven't even lived a full life and they're acting like the world's crumbling on them. So I guess someone could argue that it makes sense. But when the summer ends and they come back to school, Max has decided to spin this situation, even though it seems like there's no heat on him, by doing an article for like the school magazine, sort of saying how he's the victim here. And he starts a club called the Cis Hetero Identifying Men Championing Female Identifying Students League. And
which, that could be funny.
It could be funny, but it doesn't. It's just them saying that this is what we're doing. And then, of course, it causes Drea to seethe because she's like, he did this to me. And now he's being like, people are holding him on a pedestal for how brave he is. It's
missing this dark edge.
Yes.
That's something like cruel and that is also dabbling in the actual adult world, but these kids don't have the emotional capacity to really deal with it.
I'm so confused because what happened to Drea? She's already she's going to get into Yale. She's on a scholarship at this school. She's a good student. She's beautiful. Okay, she's not popular anymore for reasons that don't make any sense to me. But I don't understand how her life is ruined. Then Eleanor is this super rich girl who, because someone outed her as a lesbian when she was 13 and made fun of her big ass nose, she wants to destroy someone. So she has spent all of her teenage years planning revenge against this girl. But it's so confusing to me. Like, these kids live such lavish lifestyles and they have so much access.
Well, and then also everybody's at this school at Rose Hill is super woke. There's also another successful lesbian, of course.
What, Carissa?
Yeah, that nobody seems to bat an eye at.
Oh, right. That's what I was going to say. I'm so confused why Eleanor is so traumatized by this because it seems like all the kids at school, like you said, are super woke, progressive. When they find out that Max is a philanderer, they all are excited because he's in an open relationship and they all have a chance to sleep with him. Then there is the one lesbian chef who Eleanor says she wants to take down, her ex-girlfriend, I guess.
She says, I just want to eat my lunch on her shattered ego. Again, some of the dialogue which is could be entertaining, could hit hard. It's missing the right characterization that we need. That there's actually something at stake here for somebody to lose.
I feel like there's nothing at stake. None of these kids, including the poor girl Drea, like literally financially poor girl, is not like feeling the negative effects of what happened to her. It's her senior year. She goes to the school on a scholarship. She's going to get into Yale and move on.
This is they were all like paralyzed, fragile spirits. Is what it felt.
It's just not fun to watch.
No, not at all.
Like rich, attractive teenagers, like being mad about things that don't even seem that. Nothing that traumatic seemed to happen for them to behave
or
this
nothing
way.
It doesn't build to a crescendo of anything real shocking happen. Like this needed to have something like Michelle Franco's After Lucia, where the girl ruined by a sex tape in high school, her dad like straight up kills the guy that released the video. Something needed to happen. But when you are there are no adults. I know they explain Drea's absent mother, but there are absolutely no adults at all. Just Sarah Michelle Gellar that pops up conveniently when everybody's high on mushrooms at this stupid traditional event.
Where are the adults?
It's much like it annoyed me to the degree of that film Brick, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, that Rian Johnson directed in 2005, where Levitt's basically this PI in high school trying to solve a crime and trying to showcase that there's this alternate world and reality for teenagers that the adults aren't privy to. But there still would be adults somewhere here.
There are no adults. We see Sarah Michelle Gellar a few times. We see there's like a fire in one of the trash cans. We see an adult put out the fire. There's an admissions party that we're told requires like proof of like you've been admitted to college. So it seems like Ivy League school. So it seems like it would be a school. Well, then I guess it wouldn't be a school sanctioned thing if they're segregating students. But there are no adults there. I mean, we see several parties, no adults. This shit is wild because this is a weird like someone's depiction of what it's like to be a rich popular kid in high school. But are there any schools like this?
No,
this feels like a lame fantasy land.
Well, and then everything is so cliche. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar is like frustrated with Drea, and she calls in her office. She's clipping her bonsai.
The Carissa girl I thought looked like Keira Knightley. I didn't laugh. I think maybe like 3 times, and one of those laughs is Eleanor has a pet like iguana that she named. The name of this iguana is Oscar winner Olivia Colman. That made me laugh.
It's a bearded lizard, I think.
And then, it's a bearded lizard. And then we have a scene where like Drea's talking to the lizard. I thought that was cute.
But again, like is so directly referenced that I think it drains the comedy out of it.
Okay, the film feels languid, and I think the problem is at the 1 hour 11 minute mark. That's when Max gets exposed for like hooking up with all the girls at school. And Drea and Eleanor think that this is they have the proof and this will destroy him, so they release it. And then there's this wave of hate towards him, but then immediately it turns into, well, we have a non-traditional relationship. I was poly with my girlfriend, so everyone accepts him and they love him even more. I feel like the film the previous hour should have been cut out, and it should have just been the opening at the party, Drea sending the sexy video, it gets leaked, she's shunned, but then the boy, the equivalent happens to him, and everyone applauds him. So now it's showing the double standard and how these 2 girls are going to get revenge. So I just feel like that 1 hour, the first 11 minutes are fine, then there's the next hour that just feels like so pointless. That should have been taken out fully.
Yes, there's a way that this could have been like Whit Stillman meets Dynasty.
Then Drea starts interacting with this guy named Russ, I believe. And she kind of falls for him. That goes nowhere. We see her kind of fall for him, and then she has sex with him. But there's a scene where he takes her. Again, watching rich kids operate is so unappealing. He's like, I want to take you somewhere. And he takes her to this enormous warehouse that's like an artist studio. And she's like, where are we? He's like, oh, my dad bought a warehouse, but he didn't really want it, so he gave it to me. So this is like my artist collective. And then he has all this art there. And he has these huge canvases on wheels.
Blank canvases. Like every character in this movie.
And he explains to her, like, oh, when I get frustrated, I take it out on my art. And so he hands her like a water balloon filled with paint. And they have like a water balloon fight with paint.
Ruin their clothes.
In this beautiful warehouse, ruining the floors, the canvases, their clothes.
You know they didn't clean that. You know that they don't do their own laundry.
I'm not rich, so to me that just seems like abhorrent. But
Are you going to talk about Maya Hawke's hair and?
literally, that's
there
my
we go.
next note. So then, like in every teen movie, there has to be a makeover. So Drea, who's gorgeous, tells Eleanor, like, the only way you're going to get in with these fools is if you look like them. And the impression we get is like they have good fashion. So we get this montage of Eleanor getting a makeover. And
that's not.
I don't think I've ever seen a makeover that makes the person look worse.
They give her like a twiggy retro 1960s swinging style.
Her wig is so ratty. It's just sitting on her head. And
flower children prints on everything.
And then all her clothes. For anyone who remembers when Lark Voorhees was on the Martin Lawrence show,
God,
she played his girlfriend for an episode. How she wore all those outfits. Mm-hmm. That's how Eleanor's dressed. Actually, yeah. She looks crazy. And then people comment on her outfits. It's like, you look insane. Also, she looks like someone's mom. The actor playing Drea is 28, I believe. Mm-hmm. But that lady looks amazing. Mm-hmm. I think the actor playing Eleanor is also a nice looking lady, but she looks old to me.
She was giving me, I think it's just that hairstyle. It's like Meredith Baxter Burney in the 80s.
She looked like someone in her 30s for sure. So that was distracting. The other thing about Drea, because she's supposed to be, I guess, the protagonist.
Yeah, she's not likable.
But she's not likable. Because first of all, girl, you should consider yourself lucky that you're that you're able to occupy the same space with these awful rich kids while you don't have any money. And then she's still kind of awful. And then even after all the bad things happen to her, she's still not a likable person. There's a scene where she's having sex with this boy and he's performing oral sex on her while she's looking at Instagram and she's faking an orgasm. I just don't understand why the screenwriter would continue to make her so unlikable until the very end. And even in the end, she's not likable.
That's supposed to be the character arc, but there's you can't just poop it out at the end. I don't know. She shows no growth, and no one is likable.
Because the logical transition would be once everyone drops her like a hot potato because of her sex tape, and then she witnesses a double standard with her boyfriend. That should have been when she gets angry and sort of realizes that the way I've been. Because even there is a scene where she talks to her best friend, the black lady. Who's that actor?
Alisha Boe?
Yeah, don't they have that scene in the bathroom where she explains to her, they kind of are more vulnerable with each other. That could have been an opportunity for Drea to sort of soften. No, she's still back on her bullshit.
Again, not that I think that she has to be made likable. It's just that the film is presenting it as she's now made likable. Showing some growth. And I think that is where the mistake is, because unlikable characters are okay and actually kind of tend to gravitate towards those people, but she's not likable she's unlikable in an unenjoyable way,
right?
Because she's so there's nothing to her. She says right at the front that she's obsessed with status, and it's like, well, you can't get a PhD in status.
Well, so Max has a sister who's a lesbian, and Eleanor has fallen for this sister,
and that's Talia Ryder from Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, the abortion drama from Eliza Hittman.
Again, I thought all of the actors, they're doing a good job with what they were given. It's just I didn't like the dialogue. But Eleanor has a thing for this girl, and there's a scene towards the end where Drea confronts Eleanor because she's saying, you are actually thinking that these people are your friends. Because the whole plot is that Eleanor wiggles her way into this friend group to destroy them. But then she realizes these people are more a friend to me than you are, Drea. Because you didn't even remember it was my birthday and these fools threw me a birthday party. So at the birthday party, Drea and Eleanor are sort of arguing and the little lesbian sister witnesses it. And
that's a terrible scene.
It's a terrible scene because then the sister is so upset at what she heard, but we were like, what did she hear that was so upsetting?
There was no revelation.
There was zero revelation.
In the exchange that the film showed us her witnessing. So I don't.
Then at the admissions party, so towards the end, all the kids have to turn in their cell phones, so no phones allowed. And then Max did that so he could read Eleanor's phone. And then it seems like in a very short amount of time, he got her phone, read every text message, because then he confronts Eleanor and Drea, and that's when all is revealed on his end. And that's when Eleanor and Drea decide to join forces to destroy him. I thought that was weak. My final note is
music.
The soundtrack to this movie. It like I felt like I was in like a washing machine. I just don't understand. My head was spinning. Like there. So first of all, we watched the credits because I needed to know how many songs. There are 28 song credits,
but all very notable songs that they had to pay for
that are from very weird eras.
Well, it's like clearly we have like Olivia Rodrigo and Billie Eilish, and then
we have songs from like Meredith, like the Cranberries and Meredith Brooke, like from like the late 90s, early 2000s that these students know. So I'm so confused. Like,
isn't like Mighty Mighty Bosstones in there too?
Yes. The musical selection is so weird. And I'm not sure how old the person who wrote this is, but it seems like they'd have to be a person like who's like 40.
I think mid-30s, yeah.
So it's weird. Like, because there are no adults in the movie, so the music seems like someone who'd be 40, and it would make sense like if there were adults and the songs we're hearing were songs they liked when they were in high school, but there are no adults.
Kids that interact with things of a previous generation would comment about how retro or old it is in some kind of way. I don't think that they would be jamming down the freeway to Bitch by Meredith Brooks.
The director has a note in the credits that says that she wishes to thank her enemies, and if you think it's you, it is. And I feel like, I don't know that this movie... you might want to calm down, but...
I'm going to need you to clock out.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to clock out, girl. It is important to note that on the day we're recording this video...
Jean-Luc Godard died.
He has died today, but in the movie, Godard is referenced.
Yes.
So...
That's the other thing. These children that know all these references but are still so stupid. Like, you know, all these like major cultural, there's references to Glenn Close and Godard and of course the books that my Hawke is reading. It's like, but y'all dumb. I don't know.
They're mad about things that don't even matter.
Right. I feel like, so you're experiencing and witnessing all these cultural artifacts and then apparently gleaning nothing from them.
They do say at one point, we want to show how hypocritical Max is, and it does seem like these kids are all hypocrites. Like you think you're progressive, you're accepting, you're all loose and wild, but then you're so judgy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, an argument could be made that approach makes sense. It's just nothing about this film feels gritty. There feels like there's nothing at stake. The only real threat is Eleanor telling Drea, if you don't do what I ask you to do and let me destroy your life, I'm going to destroy your mom's life. And that just seems out of left field. Like, what?
And how are you going to do that? What do you do?
Well, she said she was going to plant drugs on her because apparently the mom is like a working class person.
Sure.
It just seems so mean-spirited, like all of a sudden.
Right.
I mean, if you're that evil, this could have been wrapped up very quickly. Like, you could have done this shit an hour, 45 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would you give this movie?
And also, before I give the rating, Sarah Michelle Gellar hasn't been in like a theatrical narrative film since 2009.
And she chose this.
This is... She has to have received other offers, but 1 out of 5. I found it thoroughly unpleasant and way too long.
I'm not gonna... Well, I can't give it a 1. I would give it like a 2. I didn't like it, and I can't imagine people thinking this is funny or dark, but it does look... It's shot well. I do think the actors did a good job with what they were given.
It was shot by the same cinematographer that did 2 Kumail Nanjiani films, The Big Sick and The Lovebirds.
Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.